you very much, Mr. Chairman, and the ranking member for holding this important subcommittee hearing. It is timely, and I hope that on a bipartisan basis we'll come up with some efforts to try to deal with what is becoming not just a Western states problem, but a national problem because of the impacts on the budget. I too support H.R. 167, and I have a number of questions. So I want to get to the heart of the matter, and I'll submit the rest when, as time runs out. I think it's a misnomer now, though, to say the fire season, because it's no longer a season. With these drought conditions, we're really talking about, in places like California, in certain areas, 365 days a year. When you look at the impacts, let me just give you some quick examples. January 1st through September 26th, which was a couple weeks ago, we had 5,496 fires in California, on California lands that burned 305,000 acres. On federal land, we had 1,869 fires that burned over 501,000 acres. Combined, these fires in the 9-month period have burned a total of 7,365 fires that have burned over 806,000 acres, and the year's not over. And obviously, I mean, a week ago we had, I think, 26 fires going on concurrently in California, thousands and thousands of people. And of course, my heart also goes out to those firefighters and those that have lost their lives and their families. The average last year was, to give you a comparison, we had 3,818 fires last year for 190,000 acres. So it has become exponentially a real problem. Let me get to the questions quickly because of my time. As you said, Chief Tidwell, and we thank you for your service and your team, the budget that was authorized, appropriated of a little over $1 billion, and you're now up to $1.7 billion in expenditures. In that situation, what impact do you see these programs having on their funding being reappropriated?
Well, with the $700 million that we received in the CR to repay this, we will be able to go back and be able to implement a lot of that work this coming year. The thing that we've lost, though, is that field season, that 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, that even with the money now coming to get the crews back out there to do the road maintenance work, to do the cell prep for the next projects, to do the inventory and monitoring work that's so essential that, because without that data, we're not able to
We've had conversations with the California Fire Chief, Ken Pimlott, who you work with, and he talked about the reductions of federal expenditures and how it has serious impacts on local operations. And without proper funding mechanism, it further complicates the efforts for the men and the women who are on the ground fighting the fires, both at the state and local levels. What can be done to provide the maximum amount of assistance to boots on the ground for our firefighters?
Well, stop the transfer. Stop the erosion of our proactive programs so that we can create a safer environment for our firefighters, so they're less risk to be able to protect communities and be able to suppress these fires.
Right, I think that's an important point, and I think the other members and I concur with the comments that they've made previously. Because we're not able to do proper forest management on these fires, what we have now is fires that behaviors have changed. They previously burned with less intensity. Today they're burning with more intensity, and they're staying under the tops of the trees, and in many cases being good forest restoration. We're seeing fires burning hotter and more extensive because we have more biomass out there. And then for California in drought conditions, it is further compounded because the water that normally would recharge into our aquifer is going to support this additional biomass that normally we would clean and move out of there. So it further complicates the efforts. Do you think Chief Tidwell would be able better to manage the budget situation if we had a 10-year average cost of firefighting management budgeted?
If we can budget for and cover the full cost of our fire season, is we have to find some solution. The problem with the 10-year average is the,
With the change in the climate, we don't know what 10-year averages are anymore.
we
I
can't,
get it.
exactly, sir. We just,
What can be better done to manage the forest in order to reduce the size and the intensity of these fires?
a combination of two things: get out there and increase the acres that we're thinning, increase the forest resiliency through removal of biomass, and then also the use of prescribed fire in the backcountry. It's going to take all of the tools available to make a change in the fire regime.
Well, my time's expired. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the work of the subcommittee, and I commit to working with all of you to try to come up with, one of that old definition of insanity is doing things the way you've always done and expect different results. And this, I think, applies here, and we need to come up and figure out a way to do it better.